Jamie Carragher has never exactly hidden his hatred for Man United. And to be fair, it makes total sense. During his 17 years as a Liverpool player, United enjoyed one of the most dominant periods in our history, winning 10 Premier League titles while Liverpool won none. As a United fan, I can actually relate to that feeling. It's similar to what we've all experienced since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, as we've watched our rivals Man City and Liverpool dominate English football. But here's where it crosses a line. Jamie Carragher isn't just a former Liverpool player anymore. He's a leading voice on Sky Sports and CBS, and in that role, you'd expect a degree of objectivity. Yet, time and time again, Carragher seems to apply a completely different standard when it comes to Man United. After United's 3-1 loss to Brentford, just 2 games before we beat Liverpool at Anfield, Carragher said this: Rúben Amorim's appointment at Man United has been a disaster for both the club and the manager. What he did at Sporting Lisbon was fantastic, but the system he plays never suited a club like Man United. And then he doubled down with, the quicker they make the decision on the manager, the better for everybody. It's been a disaster for both the club and the manager. He even went on to add, the only positive for United is that they haven't gone all in on his system. Now, I don't think any United fan is surprised by the intensity of his criticism. He's always been quick to tear down our managers while excusing the same issues elsewhere. He also regularly has defended the Glazers, arguing that they've spent the money without addressing how poorly the money's been spent or the years of underinvestment in our training ground and infrastructure. But even if you accept that bias as part of his Liverpool roots, you'd still expect him, as an analyst, to hold Liverpool to the same standard as he does United. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Jamie Carragher's coverage of United's win over Liverpool and how it exposes his deep double standards. Did you know that only 17% of people watching this video are subscribed to the channel? So if you're enjoying the content, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now let's get on to the rest of the video. So, on the Monday Night Football analysis with Gary O'Neill, they started with Slot's post-match comments here, and they showed a suspiciously short version of it where Slot said, if you play United that comes here with a low block, playing a lot of long balls, then you know that it's going to be difficult because it's not easy to play through them. You don't get the chance to win the ball high up the pitch and then create your chances. The quote is cut short there, and the camera cuts back to the MNF crew, and there's an acknowledgement that Slot's had a lot of criticism for his comments. And Carragher's response is, he's Dutch. We've had Dutch players and Dutch managers come to our league. They're very open and they'll say what happened. He's not trying to be offensive to Man United. He's just telling you what happened in the game. And I think that's quite refreshing. Quite refreshing, guys. Remember those words, because here's the rest of the same post-match interview that they didn't play on Monday Night Football. Slot goes on to say, it makes it even harder if after 1 or 2 minutes you're already 1-0 down. If you told me before the game that we'd play against a low block with the quality of players that United have, against a team that plays so many long balls, and still we would create so many chances, I would have taken that immediately. Normally, that doesn't lead to losing a game of football, but we did because we missed a lot. And the few chances we conceded led to goals, where again, a set piece was partly the reason we lost this game. Now, I wonder why the MNF team didn't show the rest of these quotes. Could it be that listening to this whole minute makes Slot sound like he's taking zero accountability for his 4th defeat in a row? Could it be that Slot was condescending towards the style of play that Rúben Amorim deployed at Anfield? I personally think Slot's comments were incredibly patronizing towards Man United. It's the kind of subtle snobbery that you hear from possession-based coaches when they lose to teams that beat them with efficiency, structure, and discipline rather than beautiful football. He made it sound like United just sat back and hoofed long balls while they were trying to entertain the fans. And that's exactly why he was getting a lot of slack on social media, not because he's Dutch and telling it like it is. And by the way, let's look at the stats from that game, because Slot said they created so many chances and lost because they conceded 2 from the few chances that United created. Liverpool and United each have 5 big chances, guys. United took 2 of their 5 big chances and Liverpool just took 1. So we're going to come back to this at the end of the video because you'll understand why this XG comparison in this specific game is ridiculous. So for Jamie Carragher to say that Slot's comments after that game were quite refreshing is laughable. We all know if Rúben Amorim was to come out after a game like that and say the same things that Slot said, he'd be calling for his head on a stick. In fact, last season when we lost 3-1 to Brighton, Amorim said that his team might be the worst team in Man United's history. And this is what Jamie Carragher said in his reaction to those comments. It was one of the most bizarre and ridiculous things I've ever heard a manager say. That's the type of comment a pundit would make in my position. That will be a quote that follows him for the rest of the season. So Jamie, why was that quote from Amorim not quite refreshing? From what I can tell, Amorim was taking full accountability for what's happening, for where the team is in United's great history. And Slot was just trying to escape all accountability after losing to a coach that you thought should have been sacked just 3 weeks ago, but you found his quotes to be quite refreshing? This is the level of analysis we're consuming as Man United fans, guys. We need to wake up and smell the coffee because Carragher is just pretending to be neutral about United when he speaks in the media. So now we move on to the actual coverage of this game with this 12-minute segment of Monday Night Football. And right after the footage of that interview that we just saw, they showcase how United went long with their goal kicks with this pass map of Lomans in that game. And Jamie Carragher was surprisingly complimentary of Rúben Amorim, as he said, when you talk about teams playing direct football and having a low block, it's always seen as a criticism, but Rúben Amorim got his tactics absolutely spot on in this game at Anfield. And I'm thinking, wow, Jamie, that's very nice of you to say that. But he ends that line with, that was the only way we could win this game. And we're back to the bias, because what you're saying is that out of the 5, 10, or 20 different ways this game could have gone, the only scenario where United wins is by parking the bus and playing like prime Stoke City. Anyways, he goes on to analyze the first goal and shows us this graphic right here, which explains why United kept going long that game. And our goal was to pack the midfield with Cunha sitting deep off of the Liverpool center backs, let them win the first duel, and then win the second duel because we have an overload in the central space. And this piece of analysis from Carragher is absolutely spot on. This is something United did all game, and we got great joy from it because obviously the opening goal comes from this tactic. So he goes on to explain how this goal occurs and the defensive mistakes that Van Dijk and Konate make leading up to the goal. Here you see him pointing to the area where Mbeumo gets his shot from, while his starting position is well behind Van Dijk and Konate here. Then he shows this graphic of Konate being 27 yards away, Van Dijk being 30 yards away, and Mbeumo being 31 yards away. So Carragher's point here is that both Konate and Van Dijk don't do well enough to sprint back to this spot ahead of Mbeumo and stop him from getting that shot off. And you know what? I largely agree with this analysis as well, because the center back should be doing better here when they are pacey and strong that can actually get there before Mbeumo. But my problem with this analysis starts with something that nobody seems to be talking about, which we can see from this screenshot right here. When Van Dijk wins this header and wipes out McAllister, look at the starting positions of Liverpool's front three. You have Gakpo here, Isak up here, and Salah up here. Look at where Mbeumo and Ahmad are on your screen. Mbeumo's right here, obviously, and Ahmad is just in front of Kerkez, pretty much unmarked. As we skip forward to the time when Ahmad is about to play the pass for Mbeumo to get in behind Van Dijk, look at where Gakpo is. He's just jogging back towards the goal, and he's ball watching Ahmad here. And Cunha's run in this area is distracting to Konate because, as we'll see in a second, he actually speeds up and then slows down right at the edge of the box, which gives Konate that split-second doubt, and he isn't able to fully commit to the Mbeumo run here. But for all intents and purposes, because Gakpo's not really putting in the effort, United are 3v3 in this play against Liverpool's two center-backs and Kerkez. So Ahmad easily plays this ball in behind Kerkez, and Mbeumo runs in between Van Dijk and Konate, and because Cunha slightly holds his run here, Konate can't commit to this fully, and Mbeumo gets the goal. Now, if we go back in this play, my question is, how is it that when Bruno plays this pass over McAllister into Ahmad, Mbeumo is just getting off the ground here and Cody Gakpo is exactly level with him on the pitch? In fact, when Mbeumo actually gets up, he's slightly behind Gakpo here, but when we look at the rest of this play, he keeps letting Mbeumo run past him and score the goal. So the question is, could Gakpo have done better here to prevent the backline from being 3v3? Because to me, he could have easily kept up with Mbeumo from here all the way back there to cut the ball from Ahmad out and initiate a Liverpool attack. but it's so clear that Slot's in-game instructions to Gakpo were to worry about attacking more than defending. He wanted Gakpo to stay high and wide, and he didn't respect the combination of Ahmad and Mbeumo, causing havoc against Kerkez and Van Dijk. And as United fans, we know this is literally the only attacking output we have from open play this season, because with Mount and Dorgu or Dalot on the other side, we can't really do what Ahmad and Mbeumo can do here. So this tactic from Slot to have Gakpo ignore his defensive duties was disrespectful at best and stupid at worst. In fact, it gets worse because if we go back to the first graphic that Jamie showed, this is Cody Gakpo on De Ligt here, this is Mo Salah on Shaw here, and Isak is so bloody high he's not even on the screen. Only when we move it forward a bit do you see Isak getting back into position between De Ligt, Maguire, and Casemiro. So Slot's game plan was very much to have all three of his forwards pin our center backs, and he was very much expecting to have 70% of the ball, and he thought, yeah, we'll just have our wingers high and wide, our fullbacks high in their half, and Szoboszlai and McAllister playing as 10s in the half spaces, and we'll eventually break them down to score our goals. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the chance where Bruno hit the post in the 24th minute. Here we have Lomans about to pass it out to Dalot over here at the end of the 23rd minute. You have United's three center backs that are trying to recover and get back into position, and Isak, Salah, and Szoboszlai are all high up to press them. Lomans plays it out to Dalot in midfield, and you see Gakpo here also being fairly high ahead of Bruno in midfield. Now, as Dalot gets this ball back on the left-hand side, look at how overcommitted to the press Liverpool are. You have Salah, Isak, Gakpo, Szoboszlai, and McAllister all ahead of Bruno, who was our second midfielder. Now the ball comes out to Cunha, and he's about to spread it long to Ahmad on the right, and look at where Gakpo is, guys. Kerkez is here with Mbeumo in between Kerkez and Van Dijk, and since Cunha is about to spread this out to the right-hand side, Kerkez is about to have Ahmad behind him now in just a second, which means Gakpo has no plans of helping out his left back against Ahmad and Mbeumo. So as Ahmad gets to the edge of the box from that Cunha pass, here we have Kerkez and Van Dijk again being 2v2 against Mbeumo and Ahmad. And look at the gaps in the back line, guys. This is absolutely suicidal tactics from Arne Slot every day of the week. Now, as Ahmad is about to release this ball to Bruno at the edge of the box, look at Gakpo, guys. He is least bothered to even track Bruno in this position, and he allows him to get the shot off, which fortunately for Liverpool hits the outside of the post and goes for a goal kick. So are you guys really surprised that Liverpool created more XG than United in this game, with Slot playing these gung-ho tactics for almost 90 minutes against us? In fact, that Salah shot that went horribly wide in the 65th minute against Lomans, Liverpool were essentially 7v5 against us, because they basically had their whole team attacking in the second half. So where is the criticism of Slot's suicidal tactics from Jamie Carragher? Where is the criticism for throwing the kitchen sink in the 62nd minute to bring on Wirtz and Ekitike? They did a 12-minute segment on this game, guys, gave light praise to Amorim, criticized the center backs, and then analyzed the set piece that Maguire scored. Jamie Carragher even went on into discussions about how Slot needs to be more of a Real Madrid manager to figure out how he can make the best out of his £400 million worth of new signings. I know, right? What a poor guy. He's getting all this money spent on him. But not one word from Jamie about Slot getting this game entirely wrong. Not one word about how Slot should have identified and respected the only threat that United have from open play, which is the combinations between Mbeumo and Ahmad on the right-hand side. This is how deep the bias goes, guys, because you can bet your bottom dollar if United had lost this game, they would do a 12-minute segment on everything Amorim got wrong with his tactics and do an extra 5 minutes just glazing Slot as the best coach in the world and glazing all the Liverpool players. We need to stay alert for the media bias against United, guys, because if Monday Night Football, the biggest football analysis show that goes out to millions of fans around the world, can be this biased towards one club and this biased against another club, how can we trust anything they say? Do you guys agree? Get in the comments with your thoughts, and if you've made it this far, please make sure to like and subscribe, because I am a small creator and your support means the world to me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.